It's a ball that got hit over the fence into the neighbor's yard. I'm the neighbor, so the ship belongs to me now.
Welcome to Decoding TV's coverage of Alien Earth Season 1, Episode 3. I'm David Chen, here with Patrick Klepek. Patrick, you were not able to be here for last week's episode of Decoding TV, where Matt Goldberg and I covered the first couple of episodes of Alien Earth. So before we even get to Alien Earth Episode 3, just curious what your thoughts are on the series so far.
I like it. I don't love it, which is not the place that I wanted to be with the show, especially given the pedigree of talent from Noah Hawley to the entire cast. But I think we'll get into this with this episode. I have felt like the first two episodes juggle a lot of competing plot lines in a way that feel not particularly cohesive and feels very much like starting off the season with, we're going to do an alien movie and then we're going to shift into a different gear. And I'm much more interested in that different gear. I've watched alien movies before. I don't need to watch an alien movie on a TV budget. It's just fundamentally going to be worse, even though this is a very expensive show. It's just much harder to pull off tension and scares in a television format. That's just
the show cost
nature.
around $250 million, I believe, but on a per episode basis, on a runtime per dollar basis, right? It's not necessarily going to be as compelling as a big budget blockbuster movie.
Or just toss that out. I have not found the xenomorph, the alien sequences to be particularly thrilling relative to, like, for example, what I just saw in Alien Romulus, a movie with plenty of problems, but like it was like genuinely thrilling. One of the like best depictions of the alien as a terrifying creature and so my most recent point of comparison, I think, it makes it hard for Alien Earth to get anywhere near that. And just plus the stuff I'm just most interested in, the stuff that I think the show is asking the most interesting questions about, just was not the focal point of the first two episodes of the season. And I'm excited to get into the rest of Alien Earth, which hopefully will have a greater focus on these questions that I think were much more fundamental about what the show actually is about, less so about an alien creature we've seen across many, many films, tearing people apart.
Right. I think there is this open question of, like, in my opinion, there's like two components to the show. There are the xenomorph related parts, right? The alien related parts. And then there's the, what does it mean to upload a human consciousness to a machine, right? Like, or what does it mean to have human consciousness intertwined with a machine, as with cyborgs, right? Um, these are kind of two, in my opinion, pretty separate, distinct questions, and two kind of distinct ideas of the show. And so far, I have not seen the show add very much to our understanding of xenomorphs. Yes, there's like other creatures, and those are really cool, but like, is it really breaking ground with what it's doing with the xenomorph stuff? I don't know. I don't feel like it is, right? Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's how I felt. Where it feels like the alien stuff, the xenomorph stuff, something just fall behind you.
yes. I was like, what is that? I was like, did you hear that?
I saw something.
Oh, one of the little tiles on my wall.
Tiles,
fell down.
okay,
Yeah,
okay.
sorry. Yeah. Anyway, leave this in, John. Leave it in. Okay. Anyway,
It's all
go
part
ahead.
of the process. Again, I've only seen the first three episodes. I haven't seen the whole season, but it feels very much at this point like, oh, xenomorph exists to justify asking the questions in the rest
Right.
of the show. And it just feels like Hawley is just not that interested, doesn't have much to say, much to add about that part of it. And so for me, as someone that has just seen this creature many times before, I'm interested in this world. It's why I don't like Alien Covenant. I love Prometheus. I'll defend a lot of what that film, and even Covenant, was trying to do, and if I like one more than the other. And there's a lot more of Prometheus and Alien Covenant in this show than I was expecting, and not necessarily because it's carrying over explicit plot lines or even themes, but just it's gesturing in that sort of like more high-minded sci-fi concepts. That's what I want to know more about, and that's fine for it to be set in the world of Alien. And I just like where, again, we'll get to this and see. I like where episode 3 ends up in terms of the kind of chaos that could occur with the creatures themselves and the people and the questions they're asking themselves, much more than what I think the first 2 episodes of Alien Earth, which very much feel like I just watched an alien film in TV format with TV breaks that just break up the flow of tension and horror to set up the rest of the season. And so that's kind of where I sit on the show so far, which is, given the pedigree of everyone involved and Noah Hawley specifically, I'm willing to give this like a very long leash to like, what are you trying to do? What do you want to say? And as an aside, and I think we will get into this episode 3, like I'm having trouble not being super annoyed at these kids in these adult bodies. Like, it's not working for me from a performance level. And I'm curious to see how that plays out as the show rolls along.
Matt Goldberg, whose work you should read at decodingtv.com, subscribe, it's free. He has been praising this because it does allow you to put kids in jeopardy in the Alien franchise without actually putting actual children in jeopardy, which is kind of an interesting idea. Now, obviously, we did see actual kids in jeopardy in James Cameron's Aliens, right? But like, hey, we're in a more progressive time where we don't want to traumatize children these days.
We can rip a kid apart in Alien Earth and not feel bad about it because it's an adult's body.
No, it's an adult robot body. It's not even a human body. Right. So it's a robot that's being ripped apart. Wow. So real mixed bag from Patrick Klepek. Let's get into season 1, episode 3. The episode, we're going to spoil it now. The episode begins right where the last one left off. Wendy goes and saves her brother Hermit from certain death, but Hermit gets impaled by the xenomorph's tail, and Wendy suffers a brutal injury that leaves her hybrid body incapacitated. Now, I was just saying earlier, I don't know that this really adds that much to xenomorph stuff. You have like some cool sequences like this one, right? Like, it's not bad or anything, right? Where the xenomorph squares off against Hermit and Wendy, and it's kind of cool. It's like cool stuff going on. But is it anything that's significantly better than what we saw in James Cameron's Aliens or Alien Romulus? I don't know. I don't think so. There's some cool settings and cool ideas, like new situations that they're in, right? That we haven't seen Aliens in, and that's kind of cool. But otherwise, this is like solid action set pieces, and also I think per our earlier point, like the other stuff is more interesting to me. What did you think, Patrick, of kind of some of these xenomorph action scenes?
I think especially because despite the like incredible sort of blank check budget that a show like this probably had for there are still just limitations on what you can pull off on an episode by episode basis, and so you're just not going to compete with the set pieces of a movie, which is what the films are going to hang their hat on. So you kind of need something different to like make it work. And I do think the idea of like clawing on to the tiny mouth and like using that to like drag the creature is like, I haven't seen that before. That's very novel. It's a really cool way to sort of deal with this really spry, athletic, agile creature that probably has never dealt with being like grabbed by the tongue before. And the way it sort of like spastically like sort of tries to deal with that, I thought was like novel and interesting. And again, when you're dealing with horror is so difficult, horror creatures are difficult because aliens deal with the nature of, and this is, endemic to all sort of like horror creatures entirely, like they're really fun in the dark. And then once they're in the light, you have to do something fundamentally different with them. It's why so much horror ends up going down lore and mythology rabbit holes. It's like, well, they're not interesting to look at and be scared of anymore. So we got to come up with something else to explain what's going on for the audience to grasp onto. Alien treats the alien in the dark. Aliens brings the creatures out of the dark. It's like, all right, well, we tried the two very obvious things. Then you've got to get a little more novel. And I will give this sequence credit for being like novel, interesting, kind of fun to watch. And there's an element of, in a television show, television horror is just really difficult because the pacing is such that, and this show has it, right? This show has explicit breaks. If you watch like a horror television show or something episodic on Netflix, there are like scenes end and like go cut to another scene, but there aren't fades to black in which you are breaking up like scenes, because this is shot to air on FX, which is different than for it to be shot on Hulu, right? Like you can tell like, oh, this was shot to be like 10, 11 minutes long. We're going to break. Commercials can naturally air here and come back, which is interesting, but it means the scenes have to be constructed in a different way. And I thought this was one of the more successful like ones in the show, other than the times when they just sort of like pan away from it entirely, like when the alien sort of like streaks into that party and just rips everybody apart, and you just don't see any of it happen. You just see the aftermath. I thought both approaches worked pretty well.
Patrick, I think what you're pointing to is this whole series is simply an advertisement for the ad-free plan on Hulu, right? Like that's how you really need to enjoy Alien Earth is no ad breaks, because otherwise tension's gone. Tension's gone.
Especially in these sequences, right?
Yeah.
Like there's lots of talky sequences in Alien Earth, and I expect where the show is going, there'll continue to be lots of those. But by the nature of the show, it's like it's kind of difficult to watch a show in which you're supposed to sort of immerse yourself in the world and buy what's on the screen and feel tension and scares, and then have like a Downy ad like cut up between those. So I'm glad I'm not dealing with that. But I genuinely, if people are listening and for very understandable reasons, like you are on the ad tiers of different services, like there's so many of them these days, maybe Hulu is not your priority to budget up, I would be fascinated to know what it is like to watch this show with ads, if anyone's had any experiences they want to reach out about.
I do think there was some cool stuff in the action scene, like when the truck flips over. I'm always a fan of a vehicle or something flipping over scene where they do it all in camera. They probably put it on some kind of gimbal and put it on, and I'm always like, yeah, that probably took a lot of hard work to do that scene, and I always respect anything like that happening.
The other thing I'll note, and we'll see if this is something they're adding, or because it can kind of go either way. The alien in this show is shown to be more ravenous and destructive than a single alien is normally shown. So like the scene in the party where the alien rushes in and just dismantles like 20 people.
Yeah.
That is not how the creature, and I'm not doing this in sort of like, well, you know, like.
No, you should. You should.
I'm not, because I'm not that kind of person. I think.
But you should. It's a great point. It's a great point, is what I'm saying. Anyway,
well, I'm making the point, but what I'm saying is I'm not like tutting like, well, Noah Hawley, like this is not what the creature does. It's more to the point of I prefer, like, I don't think you should be like chained to the mythology. Like I think, like, especially in a series like this where it's so loose and tenuous anyway, that at this point we're kind of entering a multi-timeline world of Alien, and that's fine. I'd rather artists do interesting things with these different pieces than feel like I have to depict it the way it was depicted before. And I bring all that up to say that is fundamentally not how the creature has been shown in the past. It's fine for the show to do that, but that betrays the behavioral attitudes of the creature in this sequence in particular, in which how we are shown the alien before is like, boy, if you get stuck in a room with that thing, like it's over. And yet multiple times with Wendy's brother, it's like, I don't know, buddy. Like, you're interesting. You know, I'm going to slow down and have some camera. We paid a lot of money for this animatronic. We're going to get the most out of it. And I'm hoping that's not what it is, which is just we're going to change the behavior of this animal that is acting instinctually out of a survival instinct, because we've got to have like a slow pan shot of like the alien opening its mouth and the second like mouth revealing itself. The way that the brother is in the truck, kind of pasted up, and then the alien arrives, pokes its head in, is like, I think I'm going to go do something else. Like, I'm not going to interrupt. I'm hoping there's something there beyond my initial impulse, which is just, we're going to betray the behaviors of the creature as they've been established so far in the show. And that's what I mean in the show. I don't care previous iterations of the creature. It's like how you've shown it in the show.
As long as the show is consistent, you're saying you're happy with it.
Like if there's something about him and like this setup that, in episode 3, like there's later in, there's a sequence with the egg where it responds differently to biological creatures than to synthetics.
That's interesting. Yeah.
If that's part of what we're playing at here, and like we just haven't gotten to the reveal there, that's interesting. Like I think that could be like very cool if we're starting to play into a world where the molecular makeup of the individuals on the show can start playing with the attitudes and behaviors of the creatures. Now we're cooking. Like now we're doing something interesting, and I'm hoping that's where it goes, because on its face, it feels like it's just false dramatic tension And there's a version of looking at that, which is like the most cynical version. It was like, well, Hawley wanted to make a show about robots, and then we've stuck in this alien, and he'll just do whatever he wants with it to accomplish the goals of the scene. I'm hoping that's not the case. He seems smarter than that. But that was an observation I had in that scene.
Yeah, you're not the first person to point this out, that the alien, or the xenomorph, I should say, is killing a lot of people in a way that we haven't really seen before in the movies. Uh, he wipes out all those rich people dressed up in that apartment, and then he gets kind of put the mesh on him, and then literally kills a whole bunch of soldiers like right after that. Like he's just killing people indiscriminately. And I think people are raising issues with that as like, oh, you're just doing this because it's cool and not because it necessarily honors the alien mythology or how we've seen that creature before.
And that's what I'm trying to
yeah.
like kind of push back against is I don't care if it's inconsistent with mythology. I want consistency.
But you want a consistency in the series, yeah. So we'll see how it plays out. But anyway, good, worth considering how xenomorph behavior in the show compares with xenomorph behavior elsewhere.
Sorry, that's good. That might be a lot of me in this show, like as a giant Alien fan. So I'll check back in.
Yeah. You might get your Alien fan club card revoked after saying that just now. I'm gonna say this. I think Morrow might be the MVP of the show for me right now. Right, like Morrow, we see in this episode gets all the data from the ship uploaded to his brain. I originally thought he was like uploading his data to the ship. It was a little bit confusing, but then the lights on the cable go in the direction of his brain, and then later on in the episode, he says to Yutani, "I have the data." So I think the data is being uploaded from the ship to him, and then the ship says, "Hey, we've deleted the data that we've uploaded." So that makes sense that that's what he's doing. But he also encounters two of the hybrids, and he implants some kind of device into Slightly's neck before he escapes. But it becomes clear that Morrow is a cyborg who doesn't think the best of himself. He says he's the worst parts of a man. He's a self-hating cyborg, Patrick Klepek. He makes contact with Yutani, and even though she tells him to come in, he says that everyone he's ever known and loved is already dead, so he might as well bring in these biological specimens, as was originally his mission. He's talking with a descendant of the Yutani that he used to know, because he, Morrow, has been a cyborg for decades. Like, one of the things that's indicated is like being a cyborg increases your lifetime. Either being a cyborg increases your lifetime, or like the mission length where he had to be in cryostasis.
It might be a little bit of both. There's a moment in the first episode where upon approach, but they're still months away from arriving at Earth, he says, "Wake me upon like arrival." So there's a sense that maybe he can turn off or enter some version of cryosleep, but also the mission itself was 60 plus years long. So I loved that little bit, like where he's like, let me talk to the person I'm supposed to talk to. And he briefly, like, there's a flicker of forget that, right.
Everyone I know is dead.
Like you said, right? You like literally just said that, or I forget the chronology, but like in the episode, he says a version of that and yet slips up himself. And I think part of why, other than the performance, like being like really chilling and interesting, like there's just a lot, like every time Morrow steps on screen, I'm like, okay, we're going to get like a sick, upsetting monologue. Like that seems like that's what this character's bit is going to be in the show. And I'm here for it. But also he reflects, sort of a, like, at least in these opening trilogy of episodes, sort of I think we've gotten a sense at this point of like the different flavors of humanity and humanoid that we're dealing with, and the different versions of introspection or understanding of what you are and your distance between, quote, humanity. And I think so far he reflects the person I'm most interested in knowing more about and how they're handling, because he strikes me as someone that, I got this stuff because I assume there's a tragic backstory, like here, like an accident or something. He gets somehow enhanced, but I don't think he views it as an enhancement. It's a tool. And even just the way he's depicted turning his hand into that flamethrower, like in that first episode to break, like that's an example of, I've never seen that before in this franchise, or even with just these types of humanoids or androids or synthetics, however you want to classify it. And that just it's both functionally cool and just like extremely cool to look at.
Yeah. But what is clear, I think, right, is that he sees being part machine as somehow compromising his humanity, right?
Yeah.
Like, and that's a reasonable point of view. Like, somehow having cybernetic implants or cybernetic body parts makes him less than human, and as a result, the guy has really severe self esteem issues, I think, and a severely compromised sense of morality is kind of my sense
So
from
a real loose cannon for a show dealing with a bunch of violent animals abducted from
right.
dark corners of space. Seems like Morrow might Morrow might be causing some trouble as we
Well,
go
he's in a
along.
situation where he has basically superhuman powers. Everyone he's ever known and loved has died, and also he has failed at his one mission. You know what I mean? Like, and not only that, sees him like he has been asked to do things that no human should ever have to do, and he has done them, right? And so it's like, oh, uh, I've done these horrible things. I'm a bad person. Also, by the way, I'm a cyborg, so I'm barely even a person at all. It's just the perfect
But he
cocktail of
recognizes
things.
it, right? Like
Yeah,
he, there's we don't have a great sense of what happened on the mission, like over those
yeah,
60. I assume at some maybe that'll be some flash, something like some data dump will like give us a better sense of like what occurred, both capturing the creatures and then also why everything goes wrong upon approach to Earth. But that's what makes him interesting, right? Is that he feels a weight of the loss, and yet he's able to go into this kind of like no emotions like
right.
cyborg mode to accomplish the mission.
Yeah,
But it's all it's a facade. Like you don't get the sense that he's actually lost the humanity. He's found a way to suppress it, and that I think is maybe a little bit different than many of the other characters on the show.
yeah, yeah. All right. What else happens in this episode? Everyone returns to Neverland, where they try to repair Wendy and revive Hermit. Kirsch and Toodles start dissecting the eggs and facehuggers, but there are some consequences from the trip. We see one of the hybrids, Curly, is vying for Boy Cavalier's favoritism. Nibs is experiencing hallucinations and other strange after effects from that alien eye attack thing after last episode. Wendy appears to be able to hear the aliens telepathically, and other things. So these are kind of some of the things that happen. One of the things I think is kind of interesting is Patrick Klepek, when Boy Cavalier has invested $1 trillion worth of R&D into these hybrids and then says, send them into that unpredictable crash site. No problem. Did you buy that decision? Because I think on the one hand, it seems like one of the stupidest things ever to do. On the other hand, we've seen billionaires do reckless things in our world, to put it lightly. And also, for Boy Cavalier, there's this promise of biological specimens that are highly valuable from outer space. And I can understand why he might be willing to risk everything to get at those. So, kind of a mixed bag. Curious what you thought about that big decision, because this episode has many people saying that was a dumb decision, which is kind of like lampshading, in a way. But curious what you thought about
Um,
that decision.
I think for us as the viewer, it's easy to view that calculus as being off, but I don't think that character views itself as a huge. I don't think they think they're taking a huge risk. I think this is presented as someone who's always thinking 12 steps ahead, and he's
Yeah.
gotten there from always being 12 steps ahead. No risk that he takes is a risk because he's the one that made the decision. Thus, it is not a risk. He made the decision. He's made the calculation, and so I just
Yeah.
don't think the character views it through that lens, and so it's a very natural as a as a normal person to look at that and go that I think that risk calculus is a little bit off, especially because they're so close to the unveiling of this product, right? Like this
Right.
this revelation they've had with the Lost Boys and this transferring of a consciousness, or however the technology actually functions, which I assume there are still layers to how that technology works that are going to be surprises along the way, and there's much we don't know. But nonetheless, no, I that fell right in line with the character for me. I didn't skip a beat on that and that decision. I think it's careless. I think it's reckless, but I think they would argue what others view as careless and reckless is just the necessary risks to become, a titan of Earth. Like you're a self-functioning government over a huge mass of the planet. Who are you to judge whether we should do this or not? I'm the one that got us here. That tracks for me.
Yeah. Fair. We also see that Morrow is able to communicate with Slightly and uh, presumably convince him to do his bidding, and so he's probably going to try to use those to get the biological implants back, or biological specimens back. Any other thoughts on the Neverland stuff in this episode? You know, we the other thing we learn is that uh, Prodigy can see everything that the hybrids see. Like they have like a video feed, and Slightly is a little bit freaked out by that. But yeah, otherwise, um, they seem to be able to monitor them pretty well. I will just say that in general, in both Alien Earth and the Alien franchise as a whole, I'm pretty disappointed at the lack of biological safety protocols. Just the scene like Boy Cavalier just like walks straight up to the egg thing, right? He's just like, "Oh, this is no problem," and it's like, okay, like let's kind of guys, let's put at least the measures that we have on Earth today, you know. So anyway,
I'd say two things. One, they're at least setting up like a very specific rule set with the synthetics versus the organics and who can and can't handle. Like we've moved ourselves out of the realm of just stumbling into a room full of eggs and putting your head near it, which is something
Prometheus,
that's
right? Is what you're referring to?
Yeah. Like, I mean, there was someone said on social media, I wish I could attribute it to, and I'm not even going to get it correct, but in paraphrase, it was like, much of the things that go wrong in the world of Alien can be directly attributed to people just like not putting their face in front of like the most disgusting egg possible. Like, which is true.
Yeah. So in a way, this is kind of like subversion of that, where before he gets face hugged, Curse says, "Hey, get out of this room. Like you can't be in here anymore."
That's
right?
I took that to be a positive. It was like, hey, we're gonna play with a known trope in this franchise,
but he never should have been in the room in the first place.
I know, but also the secret, like, I can speak to you tech feels like it should have been picked up by some sort of thing at Neverland. Like really, like, so, there's some stuff I'm willing to hand wave that away in the same way that I'm willing to hand wave away behavioral changes to the xenomorph if it's in service of like doing something more interesting later. So that part worked for me. The part that I'm still struggling with, and I wonder where you've fallen on it 3 episodes in, or how you and Matt talked about, like, the Wendy Neverland stuff, like all these characters being named after Peter Pan characters, is driving me up a fucking wall. Like, it's like not working for me at all. I don't think it's cute. I think it's a distraction. Wendy, I can sort of get past because Wendy's a normal name. People are named Wendy. People are not named.
You didn't know any Nibs in elementary school, Patrick?
Nibs, Smee, like this is like. What are we doing here? It feels too cute by half, and I guess maybe that's my worry about the whole show, is if maybe it ends up in that direction. So I don't know. I think it's that combined with several of the kid-like performances not landing for me. I think Wendy works. I don't find Wendy as a actor who I did not realize. So I pulled up the IMDb page that this is Kyle Chandler's daughter. Just did not realize that. Very cool. But many of those aren't working me. She's working for me really well. And I think layered on top of that, then that's why the Peter Pan stuff is sort of, I don't know. It's not the big of the world. Like, I'm not thinking about it all the time in the show, but it is one of those like, I don't know how well that part works for me. And I don't, maybe that's not as much of a distraction for you, but I'm curious.
It's not really a distraction for me. Yes, they are odd names, but like I don't really mind that much. I think I'm much more concerned with how squishy some of this alien stuff is. Like Wendy, she can change the code on computers and basically do anything. And also now like the aliens are like, she can hear the aliens in her brain, which that's fine, I guess. But then like Nibs, like as far as we know, the alien didn't even like get into her head.
No,
so like
just touched her.
It's just touching it. Now it can impact the programming of a robot, like this biological, like it just like impact the programming of a robot by touching. I'm worried that that there's going to be a lot of, it's just looks and sounds cool, as opposed to this actually makes a lot of sense. We don't know really enough yet to make that judgment, but that is something that I'm a little worried about, because it's like, the aliens, they can do things telepathically, and so can Wendy now. It's like, okay, well then nothing matters then, I guess. So that's the only thing that worries me. Otherwise, Uh, there's a lot of interesting conflicts being set up, like this Curly versus Wendy dynamic. Uh, Boy Cavalier being too cavalier, shocker. Like those kinds of things are kind of interesting. It does feel like the show's trying to do a lot. There's only 5 episodes left. We're almost at the halfway point, and they're just introducing a lot of subplots. And
Yeah.
I'm curious how much of them are all going to pay off. So,
Well, I'm glad. Part of why I was happy with where 3 ended up, or gave me some promise for the rest of the show, is that the setting is a little more condensed, right? Like characters aren't like kind of indiscriminately like going between a building and like a messed up spaceship where I don't have a sense of the geography or like proximity. Now I know that Neverland is like this big sprawling like Isla Nublar looking island like in the middle of nowhere, but it's like a pretty contained setting, and I get the sense like this is where we're going to be for the rest of the show. And I've just been on enough derelict spaceships in the Alien franchise. Like I've seen them. Oh wow, the electricity is sparking. Like haven't seen that before in one of these. This is at least like a kind of a different setting, like a little more grounded, a little more centralized. Hopefully allows for more interpersonal conflicts. Like that's ultimately what I hope happens in this show, is using the body horror, using these bioweapons and questions of, humanity to like pull at something. And I guess my concern right now is I don't quite know. It's a lot of questions without a real sense of like where the answers are going to come from. And this isn't in like, I need to know where the little octopus creature came from. I don't care. It can just come out of a magic hat because some concept art was neat. That's fine. But the questions about humanity and consciousness and our relationships with our bodies, you're right. There's not a lot of time left to like really get into that. And I'm still choosing to be optimistic, but I will say like my warning levels are like a little bit up.
right. Heightened.
And I feel like we'll learn a lot more in the next episode, right? Like I feel like you and I, like at that point, we should have a much better sense of what's going on. What are we saying? Do we have confidence the show can say it? And I'm hoping to report back and like, oh man, I cannot wait for these final episodes of the show.
Hey everyone, David Chen here. Thank you so much for watching that video from Decoding TV. If you want to get an audio version of the show, all you got to do is go to podcast.decodingtv.com. And if you want to support what we do, get ad-free episodes of the podcast and also bonus episodes of the podcast, go to decodingtv.com and become a paid member. Of course, you can also like and subscribe for more. We appreciate it. Thanks. See you later.